Let's speak with Candice Holdsworth, writer and commentator on this and many other stories of the day as well. Candice, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon.
What is happening over there at the Labour Party then? I ask you that as if you're sitting there at Labour HQ, which of course you clearly are not. But for the purposes of the sentence, Labour Party membership falling to 370,450 in 2023. Now, that's the lowest level since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister. Is this an anti-Starmer thing, or does it just happen after someone's got their way and got their party into power?
It's difficult to say. I mean, this has happened post Jeremy Corbyn, which is quite interesting because even though Jeremy Corbyn, didn't win exactly a big victory in 2019, He actually got a higher vote share than Keir Starmer, which is fascinating because, Jeremy Corbyn is seen as this hard left ideologue. And Keir Starmer tried to present himself as a moderate. But I think it shows that there's no great enthusiasm for Labour. There just isn't. There isn't great enthusiasm for any of the political parties. I mean, the Conservatives have also seen their membership fall. So have the Lib Dems. The two parties that have gained have been the Reform and the Greens. They're the sort of insurgent parties now where people are starting to place their votes. I mean, you look at someone like Angela Rayner, for instance, the Deputy Prime Minister. I mean, she's seen her vote share diminish year on year on year on year. And this is she's seen as a future Labour leader. I mean, we can all say anecdotally that a lot of people just aren't into politics at the moment. They don't trust politicians. And at the last election in May, there was a huge amount of apathy, people just staying home. People weren't energised by Labour. They weren't energised by Keir Starmer. What went on, there was a lot of apathy and there was a lot of anger with the Conservatives. And that's what happened.
Yeah. And I think it's exactly that. I mean, people who voted... I mean, I've never understood it. If to be disgruntled with the Conservative Party was a completely reasonable position, because I think most of the country were disgruntled with the Conservative Party. They weren't particularly conservative in so many areas. Nothing was happening. They looked tired. They looked washed out. It was just... And they did, these were not the most innovative political minds of our times that were running the country. So that made sense. I don't know how you would go, well, I really hate the Tories. I'm normally a Tory, but I hate the Tories, but I'm going to vote for Keir Starmer. I mean, that to me is... I don't know how that happens, but clearly it did happen.
Yes. Well, I mean, you did see a splitting of the vote on the right, so that did happen to some extent. That happened, but there was also a lot of people who just sat at home, didn't go out to vote. And that strengthened Labour. That actually helped Labour win a victory because, as people described at the time, their victory was wide but shallow. I mean, these weren't huge majorities that they won in various constituencies.
Sure. In terms of where it goes next, I mean, there's lots of talk about give it a couple of years and the Labour Party will be absolutely in the sewer in terms of popularity, because it's going to be a tricky couple of years economically, where the Great British Energy thing is never going to manifest with these cheaper... I mean, if, there might be 10p cheaper or something, they'll claim a victory. Who's the chief beneficiary of all of this? Because the Tories have yet to get their act together, of course. They haven't even got a new leader.
Exactly. I mean, these promises that they've made, with Ed Miliband promising that they're going to revolutionise energy, they're going to deliver clean energy with cheaper bills. I mean, this is a big promise that I think a lot of people are sceptical of. I mean, if you look at Denmark, which uses a huge amount of clean energy, they haven't been able to get bills down. I mean, there's just no precedent for this. I mean, these are all just airy-fairy promises in the future. And they're going to come back down to reality when it doesn't happen. And I really don't think it will happen.
Another story revolving around and involving Keir Starmer facing union pressure to repeal Thatcher's anti-strike laws. So we've got lots of unions now. The Fire Brigade Union, the FBU, looking to pressure Keir Starmer to repeal all of Thatcher's anti-strike laws. Their motion demands the repeal of laws banning flying pickets and closed shops and requiring secret ballots before strikes. I mean, I don't know why the Fire Brigade Union would want to be going there. These... the flying picket thing, I have vague memories of hearing about this as a kid. The closed shop, the way they voted on strike action, all of these things were... I mean, there was something that, East Germany would have rejected as being, a bit too left. They were extraordinary. But the idea that we're going to... I mean, if we bring them back, that will be the end of the Labour Party.
Yes. I mean, it seems like they're just trying to relitigate the 1970s. They haven't moved on.
Yeah.
I do think that for many on the left, they have not moved on from the Thatcher years. I mean, I thought that when she died in 2013. I mean, it's some of people on the left, not all of them, some of them celebrated it as if she was Saddam Hussein. I mean, there'd been no growth in their worldview, which didn't match, ordinary people I knew, some of my family members in the North who'd been bitterly opposed to Thatcher when they were younger. But then as they got older, they got more of a nuanced view because, they became homeowners, they had businesses, they didn't have that same, Thatcher is just like our enemy, which people did have in that time. But you do feel like those who've stayed very ideological have never, ever, ever moved on from this, and they still blame her for everything. And I think this is also why you're seeing a lack of enthusiasm for Labour, because I don't think they're... Where are the ideas? Where are the ideas? Where's the vision? They've got no vision for the future. I think that they're very motivated by profound anti-Tory animus, but I think that's the only thing energizing them and driving them forward. I don't think that they themselves can present a big positive vision for the future that people can buy into.
And one of the problems that Starmer's got, of course, is that unions have donated nearly 30 million to his... since Keir Starmer's leadership began. So this is a lot of money. And now, of course, it's like, we want something back. This is what they're looking back. They're looking for to get back is far more sway over how the country runs. And
flabbergasted,
really.
Yeah, I mean, they're beholden to the unions now, and it's almost like we are seeing a rerun of the 1970s. And if those lessons will need to be learned again, and their power will have to be challenged again.
Yeah.
It's crazy. How do people not learn from past mistakes?
Well, the only thing you can hope is that Keir Starmer goes, he's open to some of it, because he's got to be, because he's a Labour leader, but he won't go as far as the likes of the FBU are demanding, and neither should he, because that would make him even more mad than some of us currently think he is. But sticking with Keir Starmer, there's a trio of Starmer stories here. He's been banned from somewhere. Keir Starmer has been banned from Jeremy Clarkson's new pub. I quite like this. It's worth having a little listen, by the way, because, of course, one thing that Clarkson feels very strongly about at the moment is the rural economy. He's made a couple of those TV documentaries about the farm, and now he's got a pub going on. He's always been a Cotswolds boy for many, many years. He was talking to Cathy Newman, one of our colleagues down there at Times Radio, and was asked whether the new Labour government understand the rural economy.
I don't think any of them have set foot outside Kentish Town for the last 35 years. No, they're a hopeless bunch.
So would you invite Keir to your pub, Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister?
No, he's banned. He's the first person to be banned. He's actually on a board in the hall. He's banned.
Why? What have you got against him?
Hello? I thought you were running a news operation.
Okay.
He hasn't done much to endear himself to me yet. But we'll have a look at farming. It all might turn around, you never know.
You never know. Or do you? So there it is. He's a barred punter, Candice, down at Clarkson's new pub.
I know. Well, that's interesting. What Jeremy Clarkson just said, that he doesn't think that they've stepped foot outside of Kentish Town in 35 years. He's actually said similar things about Brexit, and he said that, he had a certain view, he moved in certain circles, he thought everyone thought this way, but then when he travelled outside of those sort of metropolitan liberal circles, he realised, actually, no, a lot of people see the world very differently. Yeah. And I think now that he's sort of done a lot more self-reflection and realised, just how narrow that worldview is, he's questioning it more. I think that's one of the problems that the Labour Party has. Yeah. I do think that they've sort of lost their old bases. I mean, if you look at the North, there's been huge shifts in opinion there. Sure. It's gone from Labour to UKIP, then it went to the Conservatives for a little while, now maybe it's going to Reform. Who do the Labour Party represent? I think the Conservative Party is facing similar issues as well, these crises of identity.
I think so. I think his pub, by the way, I think it opened today at midday. It's called The Farmer's Dog, and it opened to the public, but not Keir Starmer. I think Clarkson said in that clip there's even a picture on the wall explaining that the Prime Minister is banned. Love it. Listen, Candice, have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us today. Candice Holdsworth, writer and commentator with us on the programme.